the birth rates and the death rates don't seem to correlate into anything productive for most of the world. Now, new honest birth rates out of Southeast Asia just show how bad the post-vaccination birth rate really is. Let's get into this. Aussie 17 reports that the official release of the annual birth and death report from Singapore has been released. Post-vax deaths continues to erupt in stunning declining births. Singapore recently released its annual birth and death statistics, and let me tell you, it's not looking good. The damning chart appears on page 1 of the annual statistics report, showing that the natural increase decreased from single digits when the pandemic hit and accelerated when the population started taking the vaccination, reaching double digits at 13% and a staggering 39.4% after the boosters. You can see it changing and shifting. It's not looking good. As I was curious of further historical data, I pulled the numbers from 2014 to 2018. There was not a single year in the last 10 years where the natural increase dropped by double digits. In 2015, there was a natural increase of 2.4%. In 2016, there was a natural increase of 0.8%. And in 2017, there was a natural increase and decrease of negative 6.5%. In 2018, there was a natural increase and decrease of negative 5.1%. And you can see the decline there. So one should be stunned when the natural increase shot up to negative 13% in 2021. This is 2 years after the pandemic started and the first year of vaccination. In 2022, the natural increase shot up by negative 39.4, dropping from 14,380 to 8,714. Now, if you contrast this information to the number of official COVID deaths in Singapore, you can clearly see that the intervention is much worse than the so-called pandemic. In 2020, this is the data, you need to pay attention to this. Singapore recorded a total of 29 COVID deaths by the end of 2020. The cumulative death toll rose to 828 by the end of 2021. 2022, the total number was 1,727. And by 2023, it had increased to 2,024. Yes, the total cumulative COVID deaths in Singapore is 2,024, but somehow the population's natural increase is decreasing and continues to drop by orders of magnitude more than the total COVID deaths so far. During the peak of excess deaths in Q2 of 2022, Singapore ranked number 1 in the world in terms of excess deaths. Subsequently, Singapore was suspiciously removed from the Mortality Watch database, which, did someone make the phone call? Maybe. You have the quarterly excess mortality, and you can see here, it's absolutely skyrocketing, plus 37%. More things that make you go, Well, Singaporeans are looking for answers regarding excess deaths. Just 2 days ago, 2 citizens aged 72 and 69 were found dead in their homes on the same day. I mean, there's always people dying at home, but 2 on the same day? 2 bodies in 1 day. Here it is, posted by Lim Kiwei. Seniors who lived alone found dead in Bukit Batok and Eng Mau Kiau. This isn't the first time 2 bodies were found on the same day. In 2023, a similar incident occurred with individuals aged 62 and 70. Now, one of the main reasons why it's easy to use Singapore, because as being an isolated island with strict immigration and a very small and sustainable population, it's really quick that we can deduce and understand data points and see how they work. Plus, considering they have somewhat of a police state fascistic government, you know, they do track data quite well. Not that I'm even opposed to it, because part of the reason we can't have nice things in our country is because we don't do the things that happen in Singapore to maintain the world. Now, if you start digging into coincidences, you'll find more stories. For example, 2 brothers died a day apart just 2 months ago, aged 72 and 77, also in 2024. The common denominator seems to be these coincidental deaths occurring after approximately 80% of the population received the mRNA vaccine boosters. However, we can't definitely attribute this to the vaccines with forensic autopsies, right? Talk about forensic autopsies, more things that make you go, The amendment of the Coroner's Act. According to Singapore's law, under the death for which inquiry must be held, point number 2 states that any death in Singapore that occurred directly or indirectly as a result of a medical treatment or care. However, for some reason, the specific law was removed in May of 2023. This is particularly strange at a time when everyone wants to understand if the experimental vaccine contributed to excess deaths. You can see here that it was deleted. At this point, I can only express myself with lots of emojis.